Hello everyone, Arkachigo here, and today I'm going to be going over my first place at Locals Pendulum Magician deck profile. My matchups, round 1, I 2-1, went 2-1 against the base deck. Round 2 it was Elven Zombie World. I won the die roll that one 2-0. Wasn't that bad, this deck doesn't really lose to Zombie World that badly. Round 3 I went against Fred Kid Brave. I won that 2-1. I ended up scooping really early game 1 as soon as I saw he had a kid, did the field spell, and the right. I was like, yeah, sure, we can go game 2. Won it pretty quickly game 2, and then game 3 he set up his full board, and then I spear moded him, and then I was just able to grind him from there. And then round 4 I went against Hieratic Ogdoadic, which is actually a really interesting deck to see. It's definitely got a lot of good synergy, but I was able to take that down 2-1 as well. His hands weren't that good. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. Starting off with the main deck, we have 3 copies of Skulker Rat Joker. By far, probably the best card in the deck, the best reason to play this deck. It gives this deck a normal summon. Now that this card's back at 3, a consistent normal summon at that. It can add any Perform Pal or Magician or Oddaz, I guess. You're mainly using this to search one of the 2 key scales you don't have or harmonizing. But its utility is just never ending because of the amount of utility the magicians give you. Next, we're on 3 Pendulum Sorcerer. You don't always want to search this. I feel like this card is definitely something you'd like to draw. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, but if you do, it just makes things better. I guess that kind of sounds like the definition of a win more card, but I don't know, I feel like this card just has utility, and you do search it sometimes, so I feel like it's worth including at 3. I mean, worst case scenario, it's a scale 2, it's a level 4, yeah. Cool thing about this card is, if you pen call, and then you summon this card in like a harmonizing, you can use this to chain block the harmonizing, you just target your scales, and obviously they can't be destroyed. Nothing really happens, but it does prevent them from doing something like Ash Blossom on your harmonizing, which is really nice. Next we have 3 copies of Wisdom Eye. This card, it's really good. On scale, if you have another Magician, or I believe Perform Pal, yeah. Magician or Perform Pal in your other zone, destroy it, put any Magician scale from your deck. Really good, it gets you to the key scales, can trigger things like Chrono. Yeah, opening 2 of these is insane, because it sets up your extra deck pretty nicely and gets you both scales since it's not once per turn. Only issue is this doesn't work under its pen call, stuff like that. Yeah. Next, Harmo. Definitely the best card in the deck, definitely the best reason to play this deck. On Pendulum Summon, it summons a Magician from deck, usually the Oath Dragon, so you can go into Barone, but its utility is also never-ending just because of the Magicians, how good they are. The only downside is that this, you cannot use it as Synchro or XD material, or a Fusion, unless the other materials are also Magicians. But that doesn't hurt too much, because if that's like a big issue, you can always link summon with it, and it is a tuner, so you can easily make Houth, which is kind of a big piece of this deck. But yeah, harmonizing is definitely the MVP of the deck. Definitely runner-up for that spot would be Double Iris. It's one of your key scales. On destruction, it adds a Pengraph card. It's a high scale, it's searchable off the Alliance. Just an overall really solid card. I'm so happy it came back to 3. Definitely makes this deck a lot more viable. And we have the 3 Oath Dragon. This is your key low scale. The best thing about it is it gets you advantage without popping itself, or without needing to be destroyed, which is really nice because it can work under pen call. So basically, if you have another Magician in your other Pendulum zone, you activate its effect, you can add back any Magician from your extra deck to your hand, which is really nice for cycling things like harmonizing that have been that have left field, stuff like that. It's also a level 6, so harmonizing summons it. You can go into Barone, you get an early negate, which is really nice. Next, for the last few Magicians, these ratios are probably going to seem a bit weird, but I do have a good explanation for them. We're on to White Wing. The theory behind this is you wanted 8 decent normal summons in this deck. Because the normal summons have double value in that they can be normal summoned, and then linked off, and then pendulum summoned back. So I feel like you want to have a decent number of them, because you have White Wing, Armo, and Skullcrabat as good normal summons. Skullcrabat gets you advantage, these two because they're tuners. Yeah. But, yeah. So then I'm on 1 purple poison. I know a lot of people are putting this up to 3, and I can see the reason behind it. But, I feel like with a deck like this, if you're made to go, second game 1 in a format like this, if your opponent starts going, and you know that they're going to get to the point that you won't be able to out their deck, their board, in Archetype, you just pick them up and go next game. The side deck is extremely crucial in this deck, and I feel like Poison's utility is much better in a grind game, where you don't want to see many of it in your deck or your opening hands. You just want to be able to have it in the deck for the utility it provides. Because obviously decks are a lot more powerful now, with all the health stuff, so yeah. And then 1 Celestial, I wanted to play this guy at more for so long, but the deck was already 42, so I decided, hey, I mean, it's really good recursion. If I can search it off Pen Call, that's great. But I'm not prioritizing this because it is searchable up a few ways, like Pen Call, Pen Sork, stuff like that. Yeah. And then for extenders, we're on 3 Chrono. This card is insane. A lot of people don't realize this card has more text on it than just put it in the extra deck, summon Time Gazer. Speaking of Time Gazer, we're on the 1 Time Gazer because that effect does come up. But this deck likes to destroy its scales a lot, especially things like Wisdom Eye, Double Air, stuff like that. And if a card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can and this is in your hand, you can special summon this and another monster from your hand. And that can trigger things like Pen Sork before your Pen summon, which is really nice. It can get you into health before your Pen summon, which is a really, really key thing this deck tries to do, is to put up either Appaloosa or Barone, preferably before the Pen summon, but early on after the Pen summon as well. And this card really helps facilitate that, considering it is a level 6. And the main tuners you want to summon from your hand, things like Harmo and White Wing, level 4 tuners. Really good at making Barone before your Pen summon, or if you have the spells, go into Halcyon into Appaloosa lines, get you arrows. It's just an insane card overall. And then 2 tuning. I played this card at 3 for a while, and then I realized how bad it was. You don't, like, drawing it's fine, because you can use it as an extender, but it just never feels good, especially something from the hand. You really just want to summon it off of Alp. But you do need 2, just because some lines need to have 2 in rotation, especially if you draw 1 and you want to get the value of pitching off of something like Pen Call, but you still want to be able to resolve health. You need to have the second one. I really wish I could play this card at 1, but I guess I'm just not brave enough to risk it. But yeah, next on to quote-unquote win conditions, Scythe and Lancia. 1 of each, because oftentimes this deck can put up very basic boards, like, I say basic, but like DPE, Barone, Dagda with Scythe set on your turn. And then on their turn, just to get the added value, because I know a lot of decks aren't really playing Scythe, and I know Flunderies is very, very prevalent now, since it is a budget option. You can go DP effect, chain Dagda to set the Lancia as well. So you have the double versatility that a lot of decks are having to pick between. But yeah. And then the Destiny Hero package I mentioned earlier. Onto spells. 3 Duelist Alliance. And 3 Pen Call. The spell count is pretty low. This searches a Pendulum monster or Pendulum spell card. I guess spell traps, so you can search a Time Starter, Time Pendulum graph. This discard a card, add 2 Magicians, so your scales can't be destroyed. That effect is a bit iffy. It's basically just the versatility of having these. I played Pen Call at 1 and 2 for a while. Back when Desires was at 3, we didn't have DPE, stuff like that, because you played a lot more spells in this deck. But I feel like now, since I'm only on like 7 spells that aren't like combo enders like Fusion Destiny, because we've got these 6 and then the star. You just want to maximize on pen call because it is just that good, and you're not always reliably able to go and do Celine lines. 2 Fusion Destiny, Star, and Time. I originally wasn't playing Star, and I also originally wasn't playing Lancia, but I found myself oftentimes needing the 3rd spell for Celine, so I wanted to play one that I could reliably search, because, I mean, the scales obviously give you the 2, and this gives you the 3rd Celine counter. And also, once you get both of these established, it's very hard to your opponent to come back from that. Because people often think that Pendulum just can't grind because it's always been like this, you know, how many negates deck. But I feel like these two, especially in tandem with each other, because you get a pop on both players' turns and a search on both players' turns. It's really hard for your opponent to come back, especially since even if you've gone through your entire extra deck, you still have decent main deck beaters in Oath Dragon, and also utility of Purple Poison being able to destroy things, this being able to destroy things. Like, you'll get in for lethal eventually. That's it for the main deck. On to the extra deck, we are on 1 Artemis. This card, a lot of people see it as just here for the harmonizing, like if you only resolve 1 harmonizing combo with like Hulk and Dagda. This card definitely is a lot more than that. If you have like Skullcrobat and a O for Double Iris, you can Skullcrobat add the other scale. Or well, I guess you can do Skullcrobat. Basically, if you have Oath, a Magician, if you have Oath and any other 2 Magicians, and like that's it, you're still able to make DPE because of Artemis. So you can normal summon the Magician, link it off into Artemis, Oath add it back, and then pen summon it, and then that's 2 monsters on the board. Like, this card just has so much use of versatility, being able to get a level 4 or lower spellcaster from your field into the extra deck. This card is really good. But yeah. Next, link 2s, we have Hulk, pretty self-explanatory, it's just insane. Tuner from deck, Verte for the DPE, Dagda for the win condition, I guess. 2 Celine. I know a lot of people are only playing 1. I don't feel like that's correct at all, because you need 1 going first, and you need 1. You need 1 if you win the die roll, and then going first, and then you need 1 on turn 3 as well. And the second one just comes up so much. That, yeah, I would never consider running less than 2 Celine, because you play Access Code and Appaloosa. They're both link 4s that require 2+, so Celine being able to bring something back and just summon either of these for no reason can definitely swing the tide of games. And then on to the Synchros, pretty obvious, Barone. Definitely one of the best reasons to play this deck. This card is so good for this deck. Ignister. This was originally Boral Savage, but I found myself never making Boral Savage. I found myself able to make a Synchroid a lot, but at that point, if you're going first, you either rather make Hulk, and going second, you just rather make Ignister. Yeah. Because while Savage needs the setup, if you're actively going for Savage, I feel like you'd be better off making one of the Link 2s or Barone or something like that. And this card just provides a lot. I'm not playing Luster, which is something I thought about, but ultimately decided not to. This is just really, really good removal. And then the TG Wonder Magician for the Hulk Dagda line that everyone knows about. Xyz, Time Star. This card right here is the best card in this deck. How you can tell if someone knows this deck well is how they utilize Time Star. Because I used to be in a position where I hated Time Star, I thought it was terrible. I always saw it as just, oh, it's the worst rank 4 you can make, because usually it's hard to make rank 4s before the pen summon, especially one that requires 2 magicians. But this card is so good, it can help you extend even after your pen summon. You can search things like Chrono, you can dump Tuning, it's just so good. You can dump things that you want Celine to revive, this card is just amazing for the deck. It can protect scales. It's just, if you're able to incorporate this into your lines, you should, because of the versatility it gives you. And we're also on Dweller and Baguska. I'm not on Tornado, because the extra deck was surprisingly tight. I was originally playing Tornado instead of Artemis, but I found myself never making Tornado, and instead making Artemis. And then obviously DPE, MVP of the deck. DPE and Barone, just being able to pop your own stuff, proc things like Double Iris, Chronos, is just really good. Onto the side deck. I feel like there's 9 cards in here that are just mandatory if you're playing this deck. Sphere Mode, Golem, and Dark Ruler. I feel like these 3 are mandatory. I'm on Dark Ruler instead of Droplets, because you can't afford to neg yourself like that. Sure, they can still like Scythe you, stuff like that, but if you draw like one of these against a Scythe deck, it's really good because you can kind of out their whole flow. Against PK, this isn't very good, but PK isn't seeing too much representation right now. But yeah, obviously Dark Ruler is not as good against a Scythe deck because you're not outing the problems, you're just kind of stopping them. And without being able to summon from the extra deck, that makes Dark Ruler really not very good. But if you can really disrupt them, like, and just kind of take away all their follow-up, like Prank Kids, they do like the Bow Wow and the Stamina phase, but they usually have one of them on board. You just Sphere Mode that, the Griffin, and the DPE, and they're really stuck behind. But yeah. So those 9, I feel like are mandatory in any of these decks, in any Pen Magician deck. And then I'm on 3 Cosmic. This should be 3 Lightning Storm, but, you know, I don't have Lightning Storm. So Cosmic's fine. And then I'm also on 3 copies of Judgment for going first. I decided to play 3 Judgment after I played against 3 Live Twin players in a row in testing. And they always drew normal summon Droplet. And they just made Zeus, and I guess there's not many decks that can just make Zeus off of like a normal summon. They need some setup. But yeah, Live Twin, normal summon, Chain Droplet, they can send the normal summon because the thing they summon from deck can summon it back, basically, and then they just go into Zeus. Even if you pen called Zeus sends, it's ridiculous. But this is mostly to have things like Droplets, so that you don't just get insta Zeus and lose the game like that. But, yeah. That's it for the deck. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next time.